Hello, hello. If you are joining me, just getting some lights set up here. Happy Saturday. As you are tuning in, I welcome you. I am here. Just flipping out to the VIP group. Awesome, there we are. Okay, I'm starting to see a bunch of eyeballs pop up. If you are joining me, please let me know if you can see and hear me on the other end. Somebody could just post a comment. Hello, Wanda. Nice to see you. Hello, Miss Wilson. Long time. I'm suffering like Kim withdrawal. Look at, I was a vampire for Comic-Con on the weekend. So I'm checkerboard with my fingernails today. Well, awesome. I think we are rolling. And as always, if I wasn't, you'd be letting me know that you can't hear me. You're not coming through clear. Blah, blah, blah. Well, welcome. I'm going to kill my heater here. Yes, my heater. I'm coming to you from about an hour north of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where it is right now +1 Celsius. So it was harvest tomato and herb day in my garden because everything will be dead by morning. So yes, it'll be our first real frost tonight. So it's chilly down here in my basement studio. So I'm wearing a sweater and I did turn the heat on. So thank you for joining me. Hi, Ma. My nanny, my mom is here. Hi, Helen. Everybody say hi to Helen. Betsy. And I see Neil is here as well. For those of you that are joining me, if you want to comment, if you'd like to say something to me, I'm going to ask for questions towards the end of the session, as I always do. I'm totally blinding myself with my lights. One moment. Please just leave your comments till the end, and I will get to you. It's very hard in about an hour to cover absolutely everybody, every medical condition, every hope, every dream, and everything in between. So with these monthly sessions, if you've been joining me since April when I first started, sometimes I can get a little stagnant. I talk too much. There's too much information in my brain, and I try to ram it all, 20 years down your throat in an hour. So I will get to more specifics. We're not going to be able to cover a fitness plan for every person out there, but I do want to give you some basics. And for those of you that are just starting your vibration plate journey, or it's still in the box, this is your butt kick. The only thing to fear is fear itself. Isn't that what they say? The only thing you're going to do on a vibration plate is over-exercise. That's the worst you're going to do. There really are very, very few contraindications. I'll get into those briefly once I get shaking here a little bit. But for those of you that do want to join me, if this is your first time using a plate, your first time joining me, I do cover a lot of information. So you'll notice I have my trusty dusty stool here. This is a great tool. Many of you use a machine seated. So for my seasoned users like Kim and my mom, Helen, a lot of times, using a vibration plate isn't always about fitness gains. I know many of you are seeking the weight loss, the bone density, and I want to tone and tighten. But many people use it, and probably in my world, more people use it for symptom management. chronic issues, neuropathy, poor blood flow, poor lymph, bad attitude, better sleep, constipation. There's a bazillion reasons why a vibration plate can help improve your health overall, for all the same reasons that being active is good for your health. So all a vibration plate is a tool that makes activity, exercise positions a little bit easier. They make the exercise more effective in less time. If you really want to dig into some science and start looking at a whole bunch of physics, you can look into the health effects of gravity and our relationship with it. We don't feel it, but walking around like this, we have a relationship with the earth that keeps us upright. It keeps our muscles and bones strong. It keeps our cardiovascular system strong. But too many of us spend too much time like this in our convenient world. So even if you're just using your plate seated in front of the TV, your desk, your computer, and for many of my chronic users, I deal with a lot of folks with severe symptoms like paralysis, and traditional activities aren't something that are always easily facilitated. So a vibration plate can move you when you lack the ability to move, which is really, really key for those of you that are dealing with lymphatic issues, that sluggish, painful symptoms, poor circulation, where, fatigue and those types of things are ever present. So I'm sitting on my stool. I've had something in my eyeball all day, so I apologize in advance because I know I'm going to be trying to pick it out. So this isn't about getting fit right off the bat. So for those of you that are coming from a place of inactivity, I beg you to be realistic with your starting point. It's so easy to overdo it, even just sitting here listening to me ramble. So think more functional than fitness for your first week or two. Just give your body a chance to get used to this increase in movement, the increase in activity. So seated on a stool, it's what's considered partial weight bearing. If you're not supposed to be bearing your mass, or you have fatigue, or you have pain, or you have anything that prohibits you from standing for long periods, start like this. And this is also a good way to maybe spend a little bit more time using the machine. So instead of only standing for a minute and be pooped out, maybe you could sit for another 3 or 4. So you can mix it up too. So I want your feet hip width apart. Wide is more impact. This is lesson number 1. Close is less impact. You're in control of the movement. And in this type of movement, which is referred to as oscillating, it's also called pivotal. It's also now called side alternating vertical. Very simply, it mimics how you walk across the floor. So oscillating movement represents probably 95% of the machines being sold out there, or it is the base movement. There's combo machines all day long, but the movements have purpose. There are different types. One isn't necessarily better than the other. To be honest with you, the best movement style is going to be the one that you like because you'll use it. If you don't like how it feels, you're probably not going to use it. I prefer and recommend and do all of my coaching in oscillating movement. It mimics how we walk across the floor, that little teeter-totter, but with much less amount of movement, which we refer to as amplitude. So while I'm standing on this machine, which I have set in manual mode in oscillating movement, most machines that have oscillating, as soon as you hit the start button, that's the movement. It's that side to side, you feel everything jiggling and wobbling around. Make sure, regardless of what movement style you are using, the knees are slightly bent if you're standing and not too wide. When you're standing, much more body mass comes into the equation. It's better for the bones and many things long term when you're ready. But wide does not mean more benefit. It does mean more impact. And for many of you that stand there for 5 to 10 minutes and just hammer away with your feet wide and come to me the next day and say that I'm sore, the vibration plate hurt me, yes, perhaps, if you wanted to simplify it, but what hurt you was taking on more than you were ready for in one of 2 ways: too much amplitude or too much speed. A vibration plate is just a tool. It's a tool that makes activity more possible. It brings less impact to the equation. And for those of you that do struggle with functional movement or lack the ability to, it can move for you. So intensity aside, whether you're standing or sitting for this first little part, I want those feet no more than hip width apart. If at any time, as we start playing with the speeds or the levels, it's too scary or too much, the one of the advantages of oscillating movement, but it's also one of the disadvantages of oscillating movement, is there are mechanisms, more of them, where you can manipulate the performance characteristics. So you have all these little micro movements where you can bring your feet wider or closer. And as you spend more time and try different positions and develop tolerance and strength, what speed in combination with that foot placement is going to vary based on the exercise and you. So I'm never going to give you, this is the perfect number for this benefit and do it for this long. It's not that simple. Just like if we went to the gym. So if we all went to the gym today, a big gym with lots of trainers and machines and classes, and we wanted to improve our bone density, and we talked to 5 different trainers, we're going to get 5 different paths of how to accomplish that increase in bone density, 5 different programs based on their skill set and their preferences and their background. What you need to keep in mind is we are all individual, and that goes as well for deficiencies. So before we get going faster, if you are dealing with deficiencies, bad knee, bad back, recent surgery, whatever the issue may be, the biggest thing I want to encourage you to do is just use your plate in short sessions more often. With symptoms, I would like you to try bringing your machine with your foot position a little bit closer, faster. Right now, I have a machine that goes 60 speeds in oscillating, and I've brought it up to 25. And what you'll notice with your feet closer, you don't notice it when you're really wide because you're too busy kind of like shaking about and hanging on for dear life. But if you've got a modest or conservative foot position, which reduces the amount of movement, the swing, you'll notice as you increase the speed, it's smoother, it's less choppy, it feels better. So if you are dealing with pain, I don't want you thinking start slow like a treadmill. Slow is very choppy, very wobbly. The body's got a lot of reaction time to guard and protect those deficiencies. I want you to bring it up a bit. Just like driving on a bumpy gravel road, it's going to smooth things out a little bit. The other thing that you can do as you bring the speed up, again, reminder, I'm nagging you. If it's too strong, heel position. Bring the heels a little bit closer. The heel is the point of contact that brings it up to the rest of the body. If you're mimicking what I'm doing now, I challenge you to just try this little demonstration. Just come up onto the balls of your feet and lift the heels up off the surface, whether you're standing or sitting. What you'll notice is you're still moving, but it feels very different. You don't really feel it much past the ankles and the calves. Put one foot at a time flat back on the plate. You can see me doing that in the mirror, and you'll notice there's increased movement on the one side versus the other, or you'll feel that it's different. So the heel of the foot and the heel of the hand is your point of contact. So when those are in contact with the plate in oscillating movement, that decides how much action you're getting. So you can even put your feet in a little V, go the other way. You'll notice just by changing the position of that heel, you are always in control. So that fear part I talked about a little bit earlier, that's one thing that people, it's not a misunderstand, but there's so much going on and it makes you feel so good. And, the next day you wake up sore. And the first thing I ask folks when I get questions is, were you wide with the feet? And people go, oh, how did you know? Just been doing it so long. So first adjustment, forget what the manual says. Forget what all the YouTube videos said. This isn't the better way. It's just a different way. There's different ways to use your vibration plate. And in oscillating, like I say, it's a pro, but it's a con. You have more adaptability. You can play with the settings based on how you feel at the time, the position you're doing, more so than the other movement types. So very briefly, before we get into other things, some of the other big advantages of oscillating movement, it's no accident that they're more common. As I said, about 90 to 95% of what's out there will be oscillating movement. If you want to mix things up a little bit and you are restricted to just seated use your imagination. Stay curious. Maybe you're doing foot pumps. Maybe you're doing some chair yoga. Maybe you're doing some leg lifts. You are only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. This is just an environment that through the micro movements, the muscles are being exposed to. The muscles have to do different things. They have to respond in a different way. And even if you're unable to move right now, my muscles are responding to the movement. They're contracting. So if there's seated exercises you're doing now, I challenge you to incorporate them on the plate. Maybe reduce your time by a half to a third. So one little add-on that I want to give to those of you that are unable to stand, and I'm going to stand next. How do I get into my upper body? You know, Debbie, I want to move lymph. I got neck tension. I got backaches. I've already rambled 20 minutes or 10 minutes. As I said, the healing contact with the plate drives the movement. And for those of you that did do some physics or a little bit of science, the elbow bone connected to the knee bone, all of a sudden, by adding my elbows, or if that's too intense, locking the arms and putting the hands on as a starting point, you start incorporating slight movements that through that resonance of the vibration into the upper body. I want you to just focus on some good posture. Maybe you're doing some deep breathing exercises. Maybe you're doing some shoulder rolls, whatever you would normally do to get rid of tension and pain and stress when you're sitting down. For those of you that can tolerate it, I personally do prefer the elbows on the knees. It gets a little bit deeper, little less in the head to some degree. Just make sure that you're sort of leaning into the position a little bit. Make sure those legs are good up and down, straight up and down. If it's too intense, remember, foot position. Bring the heels a little bit closer. Maybe you just need to reduce it a little bit. And, sometimes as you're sitting here for 30 seconds to a minute, surfing Facebook, doing whatever you're doing, it's feeling, that blood surge and lymphatic movement. I'm feeling looser. I'm feeling energized. Then maybe you want to try going a little bit wider. Experiment with this. And the more you kind of understand, the more it kind of instinctively kicks in when you want to navigate and try other positions. So oscillating has larger amplitude values. So a common thing that comes up in some Facebook groups online and some really crappy marketing, to be honest, is the whole industry is kind of this type is better than that type, and this one goes faster, so it must be better than that one. When really, I wish you could compare a pineapple to a Mercedes, but they're completely different things. So oscillating movement is the primary movement. It holds the most research. It's what started it all. Medical grade vibration plates have significant amount of force levels. I highly recommend, if you're considering medical grade, you're looking at doing any research, mimicking any of the research, you know who you're dealing with and you have the support. I do not recommend using high energy oscillating or vertical plates unless you're dealing with someone experienced. There's different neurological stimulations that occur, and I just don't advise general public taking that kind of stuff home. In the realm of home machines, the Amazons, the under $1,000 market per se, home consumer grades do not have the same force levels. They're not as significant in the frequencies. Oscillating, how many times you're moving back and forth per second, is frequency. And most home models average 16 hertz, regardless of what speed or what level it's broken down into to give you some variety in your programming. So oscillating, because it has larger amplitude values, it tends to have lower frequency values than vertical. Vertical or pulsation, let's just switch over here quick. Pulsation, for those of you that have perhaps a combination machine where it has two different movements, pulsation is a very mild consumerized version of true vertical technology. Vertical technology back in the day, in the research days, were very loud, very heavy, very forceful equipment. And vertical, you can't really see me moving right now because and you can't even really hear it in my voice. Knees are still slightly bent, but even if the knees are bent more, there's this resonance because the movement is vertical. You always get a little bit of tickle in the nose and the ears. And I like using pulsation for things like neuropathy. I prefer it seated because it takes that head out of the equation. It's a good recovery, maybe a bit of a warm up, but when you're standing on it, you really, the absorbment, the amount of movement is so minimal. It's pretty much absorbed by the time you hit, just above the knee. It's a good way to add variety and mix up, but oscillating by far, long term, not only offers more functional benefits, but because you've got not only larger and variable amplitude, depending on your foot position, you've got the potential for a larger muscle contraction, larger strength gains, a stronger bone density. And that's my experience and my opinion as a trainer using both side by side for almost 20 years now. So I'm going to get out of pulsation. As I said, it has its place, but it's not, the 90% of the machines out there are oscillating for a reason. More prefer its feel. And what I would categorize pulsation or lateral is, it's a good lymph movement, for people that have head sensitivities. A lot of my lymph groups really love lateral. It's kind of a more modern movement style, came as let's say an add-on or a feature as the machines were being more produced in the Asian market. But it doesn't have a lot of flexibility in its settings. So it's an add-on, it's a feature as well, but it wouldn't be my primary training movement. Again, it's all about oscillating. So some of the things that are happening while you're on a vibration plate, regardless of what you're doing on a vibration plate, and let's talk about that for a little bit. I'm kind of standing here. It's not terribly challenging. I'm enjoying it. I'm feeling like I might need to go pee here in about 10, 15 minutes. But as the lymph and the circulation is surging through my body, my balance is improving. My stability is improving. My posture. There's forever benefits. And what I mean by that is there are things that occur every single time you're using the darn thing. And one of the biggest advantages that oscillating movement offers over any other style is that balance and stability piece. A lot of my therapists will just stand patients on it for 30 seconds to a minute to get them more stable before doing other therapies. So, Debbie, what is the difference between feel good and fitness? So this feels good, but I want you to be realistic and honest with yourself. If you want to lose 60 pounds, if you want to turn that osteopenia or osteoporosis diagnosis around, your body is only going to respond and change to the demands you impose upon it. So if you're just standing here and going through the motions, that's exactly the amount of strength your muscles are going to gain. And that's the amount of density your bones are going to create because you're doing the bare minimum. So they're going to do the bare minimum. I challenge you, if you are dealing with deficiencies, these are all things to work towards. But a very simple, bending the knees just slightly, like you're getting ready to sit in a chair, but not quite sitting in a chair. You can feel not only does the vibration leave completely from the chest above, as you bend deeper, you'll feel it suppress. And you'll notice that I'm not moving up and down on any of this stuff yet. You can move, but one of the huge advantages of this low impact environment that moves your muscles for you and does all these other extra things as an added bonus. Yes, everything you've ever heard about a vibration plate is absolutely true. It just takes a little bit of time to figure out what works best for you. There's no universal playbook. But eventually you should be feeling a burn and you should be getting tired. So doing something like this versus something like this is going to require, guess what? The muscles have to work harder. They're pulling harder on the bones in response to this ever-moving surface that they have to keep you upright on. So by demanding more of your body, the more the body's going to return in the muscle strength, in the toning, in the bone density. If you lack the ability to bend the knees, or you're working on it and you can't get there yet, but you can stand, well, we can get creative. We can add mass. Okay. I have all these PTs that have these really, quite honestly, crappy vibration plates, and they weight up their patients with all this extra weight. Well, all you're doing is trying to add mass to make up for lack of performance. This is another area where oscillating is by far, in my experience, superior. So I've added 5 pounds. There's 2 5-pound ankle weights that come with the new Flex Vest. So I'm bending my knees just slightly because I can't squat yet, let's say. But by adding more mass, it's kind of a hack short term. I do want you to work towards progressing and improving in your function. But, if you want to burn some calories and you want to strengthen your bones and you want to get started today, you can add mass. That's a really, really great way to get started. If you're unable to stand, one of the discussions and debates I have all the time in my groups is, well, I'm not standing, so I'm not bearing mass. Well, you're partially weight bearing. And if it's going to be quite some time before you are realistically able to completely support body weight, maybe you've had some funky neck or brain surgery, you can expose the lower extremities. There's lots of ways you can stand with one foot on the machine. You can sit. There's all kinds of ways that you can work different body parts if you, for a period of time, need to allow a body part to recover. When you can use a vibration plate post-surgery or injury really depends on you, your doctor, what you're dealing with, and how recovery is going. But a lot of people think returning or using a vibration plate when you have a medical injury or, like a diagnosis like osteopenia doesn't mean that you can't use a vibration plate. It just means that you need to be realistic and tailor what you do on it to something that supports the body that's doing it. So it's just a matter of coming up with appropriate positions and durations for you personally. So adding weight to your legs while seated and doing your foot pumps, or strapping them on your ankles and doing lifts, any of the things that you should be doing now can be made more effective by using a vibration plate. And let's face it, it's a lot more fun and it takes less time. For those of you that have other things to do, other self-care, other jobs, it reduces the amount of time theoretically you have to spend exercising or doing self-care. Really depends on you. So back to fitness just for a very brief minute, because a lot of you will ask me, well, how long, and how often? And so very simply, we're going to break this into symptom management and fitness again. Something like this, a squat, even though traditionally it's a fitness position, it could be a symptom management thing too. Maybe I've got MS, or I've got fibro, or maybe I've just got restless leg. Just by, sometimes doing these exercises to engage the muscles for relief or symptom purposes, fluid movement, whatever, the exercise can be done, but it's the duration that kind of changes it from feel good to fitness. So the biggest difference between using a plate for feel good or symptom management versus fitness is more about pushing for fatigue, whereas symptoms short, fitness fatigue. I tried to come up with words that were the same first letter to get it into your brain. So fitness is 2 things, and we're just going to cover the squat today. The squat is by far the most effective head to toe exercise for burning calories, getting you strong, getting you upright, and getting you stable. Okay. Long term, bone density and strength will build, but short term, it's going to give you all the benefits we've talked about. You need to be consistent in using your plate and pushing yourself to a point where you're actually fatiguing. If you're sitting here doing your squat and you're 5-6 minutes in, which is pretty darn hard, you need to make the squat more challenging. For me personally, because I still got a bad knee and I got arthritis and all that crap too, I like to do more HIIT style training. So I do like 3 to 4 reps, and I try to fatigue within a minute per rep. If I'm not fatiguing, maybe I'm adding some weights. Maybe I am adding some slow dynamic movement, which is fine. If you do want to move on your plate, it's a different ball game. It does make it more challenging. But for those of you starting out, I recommend getting good technique, getting solid in your positions before you add that movement and potentially, contribute to that bad knee or that bad hip. A lot of times where activity becomes troublesome on arthritic joints is simply the movement and the impact on that joint. So by just holding still, the muscles are very effectively being challenged without the knee having to go through that movement. So especially if your technique isn't great, I would recommend just holding still or perhaps working in different angles. So we're going to go deep, hold for 30 seconds to a minute. We're going to stand up, somewhere in the middle. Then we're going to stand back up. There's all kinds of ways that you can target different body parts. And I do recommend in fitness as well as functional, the overall health stuff. I think what you'll find even if you're just using it very passively, you're maybe moving lymph, working on some relaxation, maybe anxiety. There's all kinds of different reasons that people are drawn to this energy. It's a physical, mechanical energy. And for those of you that are lacking with digressed health, or you're in a situation where you're recovering and you're just not able to, put that foot and get those steps going, it's absolutely an alternative to consider. And it makes an amazing warm up and recovery tool for when the time comes and you can get back to your regular day-to-day and your other activities. So a vibration plate is no more than an environment that brings more effectiveness to the exercises that you're doing. It reduces the amount of time you have to spend doing it. And again, you don't actually have to do, I didn't really stress this point, you don't have to do different things to get multiple benefits. So sometimes when you hear about all these crazy benefits that these machines offer, when's the last time you sat down and actually wrote a list of all the things that exercise gives you benefit to? I think you'd find there's a big correlation between the two. But because through these micro movements that the machine subjects your body to and the muscles are forced to respond to, you get more effectiveness in those exercises. So maybe the goal is weight loss, or maybe it's toning and you're doing your squats. So you're doing an exercise appropriate to the goal, but all the while you're getting this extra rush of circulation and lymph and balance and stability and euphoria and all the other things that come along with it. So it's a great way to, especially this time of year, as the temperatures are changing, as our activities. So, I've been spending a lot of time in the garden, building decks and working that way. But I do notice the last few sessions I've done that have been very fitness oriented, I'm feeling those squats, and I usually don't feel them that much. So when I was showing off there just now, I can feel my last session is what I'm saying. So I got to get back on my recovery. I'm 53 very soon. And, sometimes it's the warm up and the recovery that not only eases those aches and pains, but it can actually reduce the injury, the fall. The last thing you want to do is have a setback when you're actually trying to improve yourself and get fit. I hope that makes sense. So for those of you that are using it for the symptom management, there is no perfect dosage time, how often, but I do encourage for those of you starting out, use it when you need it. 2 to 3 minutes. If you're in pain, if you're suffering fatigue, your balance is, you're walking into walls, use it as your body tells you you need it. And, all those little intervals do add up long term. They do contribute to the strength, the weight loss, the bone density. If those are the specific goals and you've got the ability, you're not dealing with the chronic stuff that I talk about, just make sure that you're applying yourself. Be honest. Are you doing everything you need in your house to make sure that the goals are realistic, the food, the rest, the recovery, those types of things. Certainly activity is a very big part of getting into better shape, but you've also got to give your body the nourishment and the tools it needs to implement the change you're trying to move forward with. So I hope that makes sense. We're going to scroll back here and see who is joining me. I know 9 o'clock was like super kind of late. I do work home care for many of you that do not know. And I had a later shift this afternoon. So there are a lot of people that are up late. So sometimes I'm a night owl. So, and a lot of my folks on the West Coast, where it's a 3-hour difference from East Coast, always get stuck with these early session times. So I hope I was able to offer a few more of you some live time. I'm going to ramble for 2 minutes. I'm going to start going through questions. If you do want to ask me personally a question on camera, make a comment, share. Let's get Lifepro's lives up there. The more that you guys comment and contribute to the conversation, the more others get introduced to these videos on Facebook. That's help me get engagement going. Tuesday's a big day. There is Prime deals starting. I can barely keep track of all these things. The 7th things start, and there are some pretty sweet deals. I do not have any product details yet, but I do see on the horizon some pretty awesome deals. So shop Lifepro Fitness Direct for sure in the US. Check there first. I think that's where you'll see some of the bigger deals. And for those of you that are Amazon shoppers or perhaps in other countries, you can, of course, check out Amazon in Canada, the UK for sure. There are some European countries, and I know a lot of people that just order. So if you're over in European areas and you want your power source, I recommend through the UK. If you're in North America, of course, Canada and the US are the two best options there for you. And who knows what might be in store. But there is like huge up to like 35% off or something right now. Like there's big sales plus a free gift going on. And a lot of really interesting deals coming up starting Tuesday. Okay, so for those of you joining me, if you do want to make a comment, make sure that you're on the main Lifepro Fitness page, the public page on Facebook. If you're in the VIP group or any of the other groups where I've shared tonight's event, making comments, it doesn't come through on the mainstream. So I'll give you a minute to get over there. I already said hi to my mom, and I said hi to Kim. Hello, Betsy. Hello, Neil. Hello, Deborah. Nice to see you, girl. Hello, Tamara. Nice to see you again. I know I've seen you. Hello, Anna. Nice to see you. Velma, how are you? I hope you're doing well. She says she got her Rumblex as a bundle. I really wanted the sauna blanket, but saw that the bundle was a great price. Now I use my Rumblex every day. That a girl. My sauna blanket, well, yeah, nope. I never thought a vibration plate would be such a great product. Highly recommend it. There's never one product that's going to do everything. But if I were to say the advantages that, if you could only pick one thing from Lifepro, I'm biased, of course. But it would be a vibration plate because, it can be the symptom relief, but it can be the weight bearing, of all these wellness tools out there. I call them frequency tools. Light frequency, everything's frequencies, but a vibration plate is a mechanical frequency. It physically moves your bodies and elicits a central nervous system response. Those muscles are forced to respond. So you get the other advantage of weight bearing activity. Now, back to the sauna blanket very quickly though, Velma. I think you should stay tuned on Tuesday because I think you'll see some good deals coming down the pipe. I tend to return to the sauna stuff more this time of year. A week and a half ago, we're 30 degrees Celsius. And now I had to pull my garden because we're going to get frost tonight for those of you that weren't washing earlier on. So I think it really depends on where you're at, but I am a sauna girl much more faithfully when the temperatures tend to dip. So the sauna blanket, I've been really pleasantly surprised. I deal with a lot of chronic lymphatic issues, lymphedema, and I also have another large support group where I support pediatric special needs, a lot of cerebral palsy, pre-post surgery kind of stuff. See, it's just what experience you have. Everybody's using these machines. They just don't know each other yet. But the saunas are such an awesome way to, just complement the vibration plate, boost that recovery, that lymphatic. For many of you that are dealing with a situation where you don't maybe have a diagnosis and you can't afford to get medical grade things. Lifepro's also got compression pumps. There's a lot of consumer grade tools that, quite frankly, just weren't around and were affordable 15, 20 years ago. And through a lot of the technologies that Lifepro offers, you can mimic all the research that you're reading out there about on the internet at a price where you can actually afford, to bring more of them home. So the sauna blanket, as I have the box saunas as well. I've had box saunas for as long as I've been in vibration plates, but I love the convenience, the portability of the blankets. A lot of my seniors that lack mobility issues, one of them anti-gravity lawn chairs, or I'll lay them on the sofa. It just makes the technology more accessible to those that sometimes can't tolerate a session in a box sauna. It's uncomfortable on the butt, or some people are claustrophobic. There's other issues you don't necessarily think, and substantially less of an investment too to get the same benefits, especially for the inflammation, those aches, pains, weight loss. There's so many benefits. Infrared is one of the oldest known studied technology. Babies and incubators are in them in the hospital. It's been around forever. Dosage 2, start conservative. Hello, Pamela. So nice to see you. She can't wait to get clearance for me to resume back on my vibration plate. Well, I can't give you clearance, but after having a tooth implant installed 3 months ago, I don't think, as long as you haven't any issues like post-surgery, again, if it's the tooth or you're scared or you feel you're clenching, start seated. You start renovating that house from the ground up. Get the legs going, the calves, and then you'll know when you're ready to stand. It's hard sometimes when we ask our medical professionals because they're not you. It's very much a tolerance thing. There's some definitive lines, weight bearing, no weight bearing, open wounds, perhaps things like, but you could use red light. On a vibration plate, it's more about when you're able to resume activity. And if you are supposed to avoid high impact activity, bring those feet closer together. It's all about how you use the plate, especially if you haven't been using it in a while, Pamela. You're going to go through that itchiness and all that newbie crap again. So start conservative on your time, your intensity, bring those feet close and crank that speed up to a smoother range and just like you're starting over again. It's been a few months and just give the body some time. It'll assimilate sooner. It'll go, oh, I remember what this is. But you're still going to, give it a week or two before you get back to what your routine may have been. Don't jump right back in, guys. Deborah, also awesome name. She spells it the right way. Hello, Deborah. Good luck, she says. Jacqueline, how much is the weight limit? It depends on the model. They really, really vary. And if for some reason budget restricts you and you have to get a little compact because that's all your bank book allows, there are always ways around weight limits. You could put one foot on the floor. You could use it seated. But if you're looking at doing fitness applications, you're looking at adding weights, those type of things. Most of Lifepro's standard models, so the waiver and up, will accommodate 330 pounds. The mini and some of the compacts have varying weights. So depending on which one that you're looking at, if you are looking at incorporating weights, of course, logically take your own body weight, add on what you might be working with and go from there. If for that reason or due to your own size or height, you want max capacity, any of the Romblex models, I believe, now offer up to 500-pound capacity. So lots of room on any of those models, really depending on what you're looking for. I hope that answered your question, Jacqueline. Neil says, I am 64 and diabetic and have neuropathy in my feet. I got my plate on Monday. I have been doing it 15 minutes, level 1, twice a day. I don't know if you're just tuning in, Neil. There is no right or wrong way, but I would encourage you, especially if you're dealing with neuropathy, 15 minutes is the max time, bud. I don't want you overdoing it. And all of a sudden you have all this sensation back and discover you have heel spurs or something. Be conservative. The stories I could tell you about neuropathy. So 15 minutes is your max time. Too much time. You may not be noticing any effects, but where do you go from there? Like half hour, an hour? These are the minute miracle machine. I would prefer with neuropathy more like 3 to 5 minutes starting out and 3 or 4 times today. So when the symptoms begin or heighten or they're worse, maybe you've got certain times throughout the day or there's different triggers where that neuropathy, whether it's pain or numbness, I would highly recommend and a faster speed. So if you didn't see me from the beginning, and you're probably going wide feet too, bring the feet really close, like dead center, and crank it right up just so you can at least feel what the speeds are in manual mode. Pulsation is another one that's okay for neuropathy. You may find it a little too mild. If symptoms are severe, you might find it's a better starting point than oscillating. But I do recommend an oscillating. Get that speed going, reduce the intensity, the amount of movement, and use it when needed. Another tip with neuropathy, balance some of these, impairing symptoms that screw up your mobility in your life maybe you're going out for lunch. Maybe you need to go get some shopping done. Maybe you're going to another therapy appointment or just going to see a friend. Use it for a minute or two, 3, maybe 4 max before you head out the door, not just for the neuropathy, but it's going to boost the energy. It's going to make the balance better. All those other things I talked about. So think of it as the preventative exercise tool as well. So sometimes, 3, 4, 5 sessions throughout the day adds up to a whole lot of benefits versus that one big long session. And if you are overdoing it, it doesn't always happen first session, and I shouldn't bark at you right away. It's late in the day, my apologies, but 15 for most people with neuropathy and chronic issues, you may be absolutely fine, but really, where do you go from there? So I do recommend kind of understanding the settings, paying attention. Are you getting relief in 2 minutes or 3 minutes? Do you need 5? It's certainly easy to overdo it. Not necessarily that you're going to have, more pain or sensation, but a lot of lymphatic fluid movement. And I wouldn't want to cause any intermittent swelling. Maybe there's blockages elsewhere throughout. Or if you are prone to blood clots, that's really my only contraindication, guys. If you have anything cardiac related, history of DVT, known potential blood clots, you're at risk. These are all reasons to reduce the amount of sheer volume of blood that these machines are capable of moving. So be conservative starting out. Give yourself a week or 2, and then you can start going a little bit more crazy. And let me know what you think, Neil. Just try a different speed with those feet a little bit closer. And it depends on you. If you feel like a pins and the needles or an itchiness, please don't be spooked. I deal with a lot of paralysis, a lot of neuropathy, and everyone seems to say that that's lymph and detox, and it is certainly part of that whole scheme of better lymphatics, better detoxification. But it's also nerves, where there's scar tissue, nerve damage, all these things. There's not a lot of research and study or people that will talk about this, but you know what? I've been doing this too long, and I've seen too many miracles. I have had people that have never felt their feet in their life have full sensation while they're in contact with the plate. It's really itchy and tingly, but I want to make sure people don't be spooked by a change in sensation. Sometimes that sensation is awesome, but sometimes it's bad. Your body shut off the communication for a reason. So sometimes it's pain, sometimes it's swelling. So that's why I want you to just be a little bit cautious, as good and relieving as it feels at the time. I'm going to confess to you, Neil, and others that are using it for neuropathy. I am me. I am my own person. I do training for Lifepro, but what comes out of my mouth very commonly is not necessarily Lifepro's position. I have a different approach. I deal with way more chronic issues than I'd like to. I have people that are using their vibration plates 3 to 4 hours a day for neuropathy. Yep, I said it. I don't recommend it for everybody, but sometimes when you do start at that 15 minutes, or it's all you can do, the worst you're going to be is a little sore and a little swollen the next day. It's next to impossible to do anything more than over exercise, and just be cautious of the blood clotting, as I had mentioned, and lymphatic cloggage. But those are extremes of where you can build to. So you're only limited, as I say, by your range of motion and your imagination. So who did I not say hi to? Did I say hi to everybody? Awesome. Well, this is awesome. I love doing late sessions. I tend to be a little bit foggy in the brain, but my energy, I can be a lot to take for an hour. So you couldn't imagine what I'm like at 10 a.m. I'm like the Energizer Bunny. So thank you for joining me tonight. For those of you that have joined me regularly, maybe tonight's an accountability check-in. If you're joining, I don't see 16 comments here, but I see 16, 18, 14. Don't run away. If you're here for an accountability, if you're here for motivation, if you have a question, but you don't necessarily want to talk live or maybe in front of anybody, you can always tag me at Debbie with a Y. Maybe you think of something after the fact. Maybe you're watching this on a recorded basis, but if you tag me, I for sure will get the notification. Annie says eyes. Are you dealing with something in the eyes? Recent surgery, some cataract work maybe? Maybe you deal with symptoms like floaters. If you have high risk of retinal issues of any kind, there's a lot of talk as some stuff is kind of an as we age thing. Some stuff is due to medication thing. But if anything falls in that category of maybe adding risk to your situation, if you've had any advice from your doc about the type of activities, moderate to low impact, those type of conversations. You've got glaucoma. I have lots of family members that deal with glaucoma. So glaucoma is not a contra in my world, although I know it is on many lists. And I'll tell you why, Annie. Most companies selling machines don't want to offer support. That's one of the unique things about Lifepro. They may personally not have the answer. They are not the experts, but they do recruit folks like myself and Amber and Roseanne because we just have more practical experience and in dealing with folks like you, especially online. So glaucoma, especially if you're starting out, same kind of thing as blood clots. Just keep that blood volume. You want to improve it, but you don't want to do this huge surge of blood flow and lymphatic fluid starting out, especially if you're dealing with it with high pressure currently. So glaucoma is okay, but I would suggest low durations. So keep those durations short, keep the intensity close. And I know that there's a fear of standing on this thing. I absolutely do not blame you. And I don't want you even considering that until you're comfortable sitting with it. Give your body a week or two to get used to playing with the feet and just improving the body from the ground up. If you do want to stand, I've done a couple of sessions if you search on Lifepro's YouTube channel where you can minimize the head vibes using a step beside the plate where you can keep half the body off or putting one leg on the plate at a time. There's all kinds of ways that you can further minimize the head vibe. Not that it's harmful in all honesty, but it is fearful, and we guard and protect, and we actually make it more shaky. So start seated, and if you're just starting out and you feel you're ready to progress, reach out to me, tag me at Debbie with a Y, but keep those durations short and frequent and build up and keep an eye on those levels. I'm pretty sure your doctor would have encouraged you be active. This is just a lower impact way, which is really in a lot of ways an advantage for things like glaucoma. It's how long. So keep those times minimal. I hope that answers your question. And I'm pretty sure I've done a session on glaucoma. I've been here like a long time. Anne says did it for 15 minutes, but got freaked out. You know what? One session ain't going to kill you. Yes, it felt so good at the time and you went, oh, okay. So if you do have, a headache, any fear of floaters and those, anything that you may experience that you would with other activities, new activities, things you've overdone would be similar to what you'd see on the plate. So you are absolutely fine. Keep it minimal. And I'm not saying you can't do 15 minutes, but I want you feeling comfortable and confident in using it before you progress and just take on more than you're ready for. This should not be something anyone has to endure or put up with to get the results. You should have to sit there and hammer away for 15 minutes to lose 20 pounds. There are better ways, and there's a million ways to use this plate and tweak some of the settings in your positions for what you are each personally dealing with. So yeah, just reduce the time. You could do another little session if you wanted today, but keep it 2 to 3 minutes. Bring that time up. Get out of level 1. Get into a mid program or a mid speed, but bring those feet closer. And I think you'll find it's a completely different experience. Much more soothing, less choppy and wobbly like that Bosu ball. I hope that makes sense. Dr. Perry, yeah, you could do the Dr. Perry. There's a bazillion different preps out there. What Anne is referring to, many lymphatic therapists, certified lymphatic therapists for sure would know this. You're taught in school that if you're dealing with a sluggish lymphatic system or you lack activity or movement, that it's a good idea to prep the lymphatics. Dr. Perry has coined his own version of it. I've actually done a couple in my group. More specific to those of you that are dealing with lipedema and lymphedema. But yeah, it is a good idea. And what lymph prepping is just sort of stimulating the lymphatic system. Some folks dry brush. I've done a number of sessions, Annie, if you look up lymph prep in the group or on the YouTube channel. I've done a couple where I do the prep seated, and I've done a couple where I do it standing. I'm all about like combining things and reducing time because I'm crazy busy in my own life. But sometimes we don't do some of the self-care because it's a drag and it takes time. So, using your vibration plate as a way to reduce the amount of time and enhance the effects of that prep routine is just another idea. So that's something you could play with seated while you're getting a feel for it, just as an idea. If my head vibrates at all, is that okay? I would prefer that you get used to it first. I am not completely familiar with your situation. Are you bending your knees enough? Generally speaking, it is not harmful for your head to be vibrating. It's how you react to that resonance of movement. And as women, whether you're dealing with glaucoma or not, I guarantee you're fighting it a bit. So I would recommend, if you're feeling it too much in the head, you need to bend your knees more and bring your feet closer together. I would rather you not just have to tolerate it. There's no reason to shake your head. I like to stand tall and tilt my head forward just to get it into the neck and the base of the shoulders. But I certainly don't stand there and rattle my head on purpose. It's just, for what? It's not very pleasant. So I just don't recommend it, especially because you're dealing with what you're dealing with. Let's err on the side of caution. So bend those knees. And if you're not able to bend those knees, let's work towards that. And I want you to start seated. I'd rather be safe until you yourself become a little bit more confident in knowing whether that's comfortable for you or not is the better answer. I hope that makes sense. It's not a yes or no question. Everybody's so different. My brother-in-law has very, very, very severe in one eye. In my opinion and experience, it's easy to overdo it with things like that. We think about the vibration plate because of the movement, but I've had people have glaucoma issues because they went too long in their sauna for the first time. There's lots of things that can increase that blood flow and that pressure in the eye. So you need to be conservative with anything that you're trying and give the body time to adapt and become accustomed to that increase in flow. I hope that makes sense. Well, if I don't have any more questions, I would still like to invite any of you. I'm going to give you a couple more minutes here to make a comment if you do have a question for me. There's no way, like I say, I covered all in every session. If you're looking for something specific, there probably isn't a session or a topic that I haven't covered at least 3 times. Search Debbie with a Y. It works both ways in the YouTube channel and do it like Debbie Parkinson's or Debbie lymphedema or Debbie surgery, and you'll see a whole bunch of different videos come up. After I wrap up the live, I will drop a link to some of my more recommended or popular sessions. There is a much shorter getting started video that's 6 minutes long. So I'll drop that in for those of you that don't want to listen to my entire ramble. Linda, thank you for letting me know that you're coming through okay on my end. And I forgot to thank you at the beginning. And anyone else, thank you for joining me. It's nice to see some familiar faces I haven't seen in a while. Must be fall, y'all. And thanks, guys, for joining me. Pam, Annie, that had medically related questions. Know that I am not medically trained, but I am an expert in my field. I support many, many medical professionals out there. And there's pretty rarely a no that comes out of my mouth. As I said, I want you to exercise caution. And really the biggest caution is always dosage. Don't take on more than you're ready for. Be conservative on your time and your intensity. Think like a tanning bed. If you've ever tried a tanning bed or the sun, you can't undo a sunburn. You can go try it for a little bit. If you want to go get a little bit more color and go back, then you can always do that. Same with a vibration plate. If you've overdone it, you're going to have a setback and regress. And the one hack I will give you, if you have overdone it and you're sore the next day, or you're peeing nonstop or pooping nonstop, or you're so exhilarated you can't sleep, less is more. So again, try more often in shorter sessions with that less intensity that I always nag you about. But you can also try a couple 3 minutes if you have overdone it. The machine is so awesome at that warm up and recovery piece. If you've overexercised or you've just overdone your therapies on it, 2 to 3 minutes the next day or later on, muscle soreness, those type of things, you need to get some more lymph going. It's the perfect recovery even to itself. So things that we just don't always think about. You don't have to know everything. I'm here to fill in the blanks. So come back to me next month with more questions. We've been doing this since April, so there's quite a few different ones out there. I do veer off on a few tangents from time to time. And I am here once a week live on Lifepro's Facebook channels. And after a month, just so you guys know, the if you've been looking for videos, I've had a few folks asking, any of the live videos after 30 days are no longer stored on Facebook. They are moved, and that's a Facebook thing, not a Lifepro thing. But Lifepro automatically adds those to their YouTube channel, so anybody can publicly access them there after the lives. And you can comment there too. Tag me at Debbie Pelch if you're making a comment on YouTube. And I'll get back to you over on that channel. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'm so glad you found me as well, Annie. Hello, Marita. Nice to see you. Is it more beneficial on my Rumblex 4D to use all 3 modes at once? Marita, I'm going to ask you to watch the session. No, it's not going to do the work for you, girl. You can't just crank it up and add all the moves and expect, better for what? Like, what is it you're trying to accomplish? More lymph, more fitness. It adds more variety. For some, it can add more challenge, but the benefits really are driven by what you do on the plate. So if the goals are fitness, things like squats and push-ups are really, truly going to give you more benefit. The plate just gives you more benefit enhancements, like, more circulation, more lymph, less impact, less time. So it really depends. It's really impossible for me to answer that question without knowing what the goals are long-term. A lot of people like using the Rumblex and combining the modes. I personally prefer doing my sessions in oscillating movement. It is the main movement. It's going to give you more benefits long-term. And I like to think of the lateral or the pulsation as the variety, the add-ons, more than the primary movements long-term. I hope that makes sense. What you could do if you're more interested in a bit more of an explanation on the vibration plate movement types, last month I did do a session. It may still be on Facebook, but it's probably more likely on YouTube, where I spoke for a whole hour specifically about the different movement types, the performance characteristics, the differences between the two. And ultimately, what it really boils down to is what's best for you. If you don't like how it feels, you're not going to use it anyways. Just use it consistently. Can you demonstrate the posture standing? Demonstrating the posture standing, you want to make sure you got a good spine, as straight as it can be. That core is engaged in your breathing. A real quick tip when you're standing on the plate, if you feel it more in the balls of the feet or the shins, your body's really, really lazy. It's always going to try and find an easier way to do the job. So it tends to shift the body forward, especially when you're doing those squats. So just, practice about 60 to 70%. Keep that heel in contact with the plate, 60 to 70% of your weight. And think of the balls of the feet and the toes as the rudder. They're the stabilizers. If you're feeling your mass is primarily shifted towards the toes, that's a correction to make. And that alleviates 90% of the posture. I hope that makes sense. And I'm pretty sure I've done a couple sessions on posture. When you're watching me in the mirror, I have these cheesy closet door mirrors set up here so that you can see. My goal is to try and have a nice straight spine all the way down the neck to the tailbone. Where the knees are bent and how far you go sometimes changes the angle of that. But you just want to make sure you got a nice straight spine from the tailbone to the neck until you start squatting a little bit to give you a visual. All right, I think I've rambled you guys to sleep. Can we make a phone appointment with you for consultation? I do offer coaching sessions. I do not offer coaching sessions in the form of the free calls that you can book through Lifepro. But I, as a vibration plate specialist, do offer a lot of consultations, especially for those of you dealing with medical issues. If you would like to book a personal session with me, I do charge 20 minutes US for a 30-minute call. Please just send me a direct message and I'll send you some information on that, or just make a comment at Debbie and I can put a link in here for anyone that's interested on that. You do get a free consultation with Lifepro that does go over some of the basics. And as I said, there is no way that you're all using the plates exactly the same way to accomplish the same benefits, because you're all uniquely different. So using the plate, there's lots of different ways, just like going to the gym, to utilize the equipment. My approach is a little bit different. And as I said, I do tend to cater more to that chronic recovery type of body, because that's been my wheelhouse for much, much more longer. If you're wanting fitness, Yeah, I can kick your butt pretty good too. It just really depends on what you're looking at dealing with. So, thank you, Annie. I hope that helps. For the rest of you, have a great rest of your Saturday evening. I look forward to seeing you. I think I'm here Tuesday. I'm here Tuesday talking about prime deals. So stay tuned for that because there's some big ones coming up, and I look forward to sharing a few of my faves with you. This once a week, same time. No, this session is once a month. So first Saturday of the month, I am live for the vibration plate crash course where I just want to give you guys an opportunity, especially for those of you that work, an opportunity to catch me in the evenings, and we're not really in that big of a hurry to wrap up here. During the day, sometimes your calendars are a little bit more challenging. I am also live weekly for a variety of different topics. And the day varies. Sometimes it's Monday, sometimes it's Tuesday, but I do have a session during the week. If you look at the events tab on the main Lifepro Fitness page, you will see the events. But I usually post them about a day or two prior, and I share them in the VIP group as well. I do also, and for those of you following, I do have a couple of my own private Facebook groups and my own YouTube channel. Instead of dropping a bazillion links, I will drop my Linktree link after the live wraps up, just so you guys know how to get a hold of me for appointments or whatever that may be. Thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday for Prime Deals. Oh, there's some good deals, guys, coming. I look forward to seeing you guys on Tuesday. Any questions? Tag me at Debbie with a Y, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Don't work too hard, guys.